perfect square off by mere centimeters, with a slope so razor precise, because even the slightest variation would mean a failure at the top.
Yes, you mess up a little bit and it'll just add up little by little, half an inch, half an inch, half an inch. By the top, you off 3 feet. Now you got the leader, whoever's running the construction. Hey, take it all down. We're off. What? My back hurt. My back hurt in the 21st century from sitting in a car too long. I'm talking about like lugging bricks. Ugly. Hell no. This new pyramid theory explains the missing evidence. Video by Dami Lee. Y'all, I have something to confess. I love science. Yes, science. I love mystery. I love not necessarily conspiracy, but I love ancient. I love a lot of. This is something that I would watch on my own time. This is what my feed look like. We talking about pyramids. We talking about what is this, what is that. Y'all go subscribe to my vlog channel. I'm really getting lit on there. Really, please, if with you guys' help, right? Binge the rest of my reaction videos. Like, comment, share, subscribe on this. Y'all finna get a piece of me, a real piece of me on this one. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video.
She been comment me.
About 2 years ago, I got an email from a guy who had a theory about the pyramids. And at first, I kind of ignored it, because when it comes to the pyramids, the line between researcher and conspiracy theorist gets a little blurry. But he sent me all of his research, almost 10 years of work, and I did look at it eventually, and it completely changed the way that I look at the pyramids. He said the pyramids weren't built, they were unbuilt. And maybe all the missing evidence that we've been searching for, the ramps, the tools, the machinery, it's not missing at all. It's actually right in front of us, just misinterpreted. So I want to walk you through this theory today, but I'm not gonna lie, this email did take me down a
Really quickly, what do y'all think? Because I'm not going to, it's an 18-20 minute video. I was going to do a ocean video. Y'all let me know if y'all want me to dive deep into the ocean. You feel what I'm saying? Did you understand that one though? Dive deep, like ocean, deep water, deep blue sea. Y'all slow as hell. But let me know, what do you guys think about the pyramids? How do you think it was built? I know they said it was ramps that go all the way to the top, but the grade would be too high, so that's not possible. They said it will be shorter but you gotta make it super duper long. You gotta make it super duper long and all this type of stuff. Now, I feel like it was a block, but they said it wasn't there. I feel like they put a whole bunch of blocks in these. Like if we just take one pyramid and we arch out one of the blocks, right? The line wouldn't be there. I feel like they put the lines there, almost like faux brick. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The fake bricks. Like you just put concrete and you put the lines in it on a lot of the pieces. I feel like that's how it is. They just put hella blocks up to the top and then, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
very strange rabbit hole, because for all the theories and simulations and 4,000 years of research and speculation, we actually know very little about how these structures were built.
My back hurt just looking at this.
We can't understand the pyramids without talking about time, because the pyramids are very, very old. The cliche saying is that Cleopatra lived closer to the iPhone than she did to the construction of the pyramids. The ancient Romans would tour the pyramids like we tour the Colosseum today. And over that insane scale of time, things get blurry. But what we do know is that pyramids themselves were the endpoint of a massive architectural learning curve, each one taking about 10 to 15 years, and each one getting us closer to the Great Pyramid. 146 meters tall, 2.3 million blocks of stone. The base is...
What is it? It's 6 sides or 8 sides, right? The Pyramid of Giza. I never knew the Pyramid of Giza was actually like different. It had more than 4 sides. I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4. You look at it from the top, there's actually a crease in them, which makes it like 8 sides.
Almost a perfect square, off by mere centimeters, with a slope so razor precise, because even the slightest variation would mean a failure at the top.
Yes, you mess up a little bit and it'll just add up little by little, half an inch, half an inch, half an inch. By the top, you off 3 feet. Now you got the leader, whoever's running the construction. Hey, take it all down. We're off. What? My back hurt. My back hurt in the 21st century from sitting in a car too long. I'm talking about they lugging bricks. Ugga. Hell no.
And the whole thing is aligned almost perfectly to true north, off by just 1/15 of a degree. And they did all of this without compasses or lasers or GPS. As far as we know, they used nothing but the stars. And if you scaled it to the size of the Earth, the height to base ratio would almost match the curvature of the planet. The latitude is the exact same number as the speed of light, and just 0.0002 degrees off from the pyramid's latitude is also this subway in Louisiana, because a lot of things exist on that latitude. But you see, the pyramids seem so impossible, and our understanding is so limited that it's just the perfect breeding ground for conspiracy theories. But it is worth remembering, if any civilization could pull this off, it's probably the Egyptians. Every year, the Nile flooded, and it turned the valley into a surplus machine, with ridiculous amounts of grain, enough to feed 10.
I would say I know they got their material from a different place down the Nile, right? I feel like if it flooded, they could have taken some sort of wood and brick and floated the bricks down the Nile, maybe the quarry, from the quarry down the Nile, and could have. But it's like, bruh, my back hurts sitting in this chair right now. How are they doing that? Did they have Mega Man backs?
Thousands of people who weren't farming. Remember our video on the Romans? They got their grain from Egypt. And that kind of surplus meant Egypt had something incredibly rare in the ancient world: time, labor, and stability for massive multi-year engineering projects. And they created incredible inventions like counterweighted lifting devices, mummification, star-aligned surveying tools, and one of the most accurate calendars on Earth, long before most civilizations could even write. On top of that, you have a hyper-organized bureaucracy that tracked everything. We literally have a 4,500-year-old site manager's logbook, where this guy named Mirror documents how his crew boated the Tura limestone to the pyramid site. In fact, we have records for everything, like how they brought the stone, who they hired, and even the payroll. Everything except how they actually built the pyramids. Oh,
wait,
by the way,
so how they she gonna have to tell us how they brought it, because from my knowledge nobody knew how they brought the damn, what's it called, from the quarry. That was from far. They said them things was like 2 tons a brick. I'm not talking about drugs. 2 tons of brick. How buoyant does your ship need to be, or does your raft or whatever they was using to float it there need to be to over buoyancy 2 tons? Or were they putting 1 brick? Was they putting 2 bricks? Were they shaving it in the quarry and then bringing it? I'm pretty sure they were. Because imagine you bring a whole slab of limestone and you get it. Or no, it was covered in limestone. What was it made out of? I forgot what it was made out of. But you get it there, you chipping it to the rectangle, and then it crack in half. Nah, they was probably doing it in the quarry. And if it cracked, they just leave it.
they weren't built by slaves. Archaeologists found entire workers' districts at Giza with bakeries and workshops and medical teams, and even the tombs of the craftsmen. These were skilled labor crews, not an oppressed workforce. And despite keeping diligent records of all of this, when it comes to the construction drawings, it's kind of like they said, well, let's mess with those guys a little bit. Because maybe they knew that we were going to be arguing about this for centuries.
I seen a guy, apparently he was on TikTok or Instagram. He said, I'm gonna bury this dog and I'm gonna leave in different bones from a different. He said, I'm gonna throw them the fuck off like we had different animals back in 2026. I'm like, oh, he's cold blooded. That's real different. You messing with our Earth's uh history. They gonna be like, oh yeah, back in these times they had bipedal creatures, but we also saw that they had this dog-like animal with a cat tail and rabbit ears. This time, this was probably the apex predator. Whole time nigga put it in a shoebox, in a Jordan shoebox, and just put it in his backyard. Say I'ma fuck with him.
There are a lot of theories about how these pyramids were built. Cranes, counterweights, kites, water elevators. But there's two big ones, ramps. In the classic one, the external ramp theory, workers drag the blocks up a huge ramp as the pyramid rises. It's very simple, in theory, to keep the slope gentle enough for normal humans and not physical 100 athletes. The ramp would need to stretch around 2 kilometers. Anything shorter or steeper, people probably start dying on you. Well, things get a little challenging. By the time you've built a ramp that's safe to walk on, you've basically cost yourself more materials and labor just to build the thing that builds the thing. And the real killer is, there is zero archaeological evidence of a mile-long ramp ever existing or being torn down. And then there's a twist on this theory. A ramp spiraling around the pyramid, shorter, more compact, reusing the same slope over and over. But now you have a different problem. The faces of the
See, my theory, my for what I think, and y'all should not take what I'm saying as like, but I feel like they started with a tower and worked down and around. You feel me? Like I don't think they started from the bottom, because then it's like, all right, let's let's work our way to the top, and then it'll be off and all this and that. I feel like they started from the top and make sure it was perfect going down. And if it was off at the bottom, shit, toss some sand right there over the corner. Toss a little bit of sand over it. You ain't really gonna see it. Now we're true north and all type of, like, you just built this tower first. You put the cone on and it's straight down. And as you build around and it's more supported, then you can like remove the middle, the strut almost. Has anybody said that as a theory? We start from the middle, the top in the middle, and work our way out or down. I might be the first one. I might be the smartest ego on the planet.
pyramid are perfectly straight. Otherwise, the edges can't meet at the apex. But to keep it at this precise angle, the builders had to constantly check the edges. But with a fat ramp in the way, it's blocking all the corners that you need access to. So if the ramp isn't outside, maybe it's inside. In the 1980s, someone saw a fox entering the Great Pyramid near the base and somehow popping out hundreds of feet higher. That little fox inspired the French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin to propose a hybrid system. A short external ramp made of limestone for the very first third of the structure, which is then reused for the top part once it's done. Then a hidden ramp spiraling inside the structure. It very neatly
I don't believe this, because we would have seen a ramp on the inside. Why is it no ramp on the inside? If there was a ramp so right under the surface, this don't make sense to me. It's, I don't know. I'm informing y'all. I'm the professional. I'm informing y'all. This one, unlikely, implausible.
explains this missing
Myth
debris.
busted.
And it even answers some of the mysteries around the Grand Gallery, which Houdin thinks was a giant counterweight system for hoisting the granite beams found in the King's Chamber. It also explains why it's so tall and narrow, and lined with strange benches, and covered in scuff marks, as if something hard and heavy slid through it over and over again. It's elegant, but then, in 2015, the pyramids got a giant CT scan.
So it was true? I don't think so.
This is muon tomography. Think of muons as high-energy particles.
Basically, a CT scan is like, so if I have a scan, like if I have these rays, right, I'm gonna put it on, let's say I put it on this bottle right here. This is thinner, so it'll go through faster. right? This is thicker. This part right here, this corner is thicker, so it'll go through slower right here. And then with that, it basically maps where it is. I don't know. I mean, I be on YouTube. I'm a YouTube university. You feel me? So like I know how a lot of shit, how it's made. I know a lot of shit randomly. Randomly. One I might react to these. I wanna react to this right here. She got a video on this. The Sphinx cats things. I wanna hear about that too.
From space that are constantly raining down on Earth. They pass through rock, but very dense areas slow them down. So if you put detectors inside and around the pyramid and wait long enough, you can build a 3D density map, kind of like a medical CT scan, and you can do all of this without touching a single stone. And in 2015, they found something crazy. A massive, unexplained void just above the Grand Gallery, which led to thousands of new theories overnight. But what they didn't find was a clean spiral running just under the surface.
Told you.
A kilometer-long ramp was hiding there, let's say, you would expect at least a faint trace, but instead, the scan shows scattered voids. It doesn't necessarily kill the idea, but it strongly weakens the argument. And then most other pyramid construction theories.
See, like this. This one right here, go to hell. We not doing that. You want me to run up here 16,000, 4,000, or let me not say 4,000, maybe like 19 miles to come and put one brick right here? Fuck out of here. This one, too steep. Too steep. Ain't doing it. My back hurt. This one right here, we don't even know what the man's plan was. He just built it. He said, watch, no, we gonna do it like this and like this. And we all confused here. This one's pretty possible. And then you just shave the rest off. This one, like these ones over here could be possible. The ones that you gotta go around, it could be possible. But there should be some that go through for that counterweight system where you hoist it up through this way. Like say you hoist it up through here. You go through here through the middle of it. And on the opposite side, another ramp to put another limestone brick and pull it through. This one don't seem real. These ones over here seem a lot more plausible. There wasn't no ramp like that, I don't feel like.
Theories are variations on these two. The thing about these theories is that most of them actually work until you reach the top. The apex is actually the hardest part of the whole structure, because even a tiny error at the base becomes a huge deviation at the top. The edges need to be perfectly straight, so you need full access to all four faces and lots of room to work. With an external ramp, you eventually have to remove it or drastically shrink the ramp right when you need it the most. With an internal ramp, the higher you get, you are losing the turning radius, the hauling space, and of course the ability to check the edges. When you look at pyramids in other cultures, you start to notice a lot of them dodge this issue with a flat top. Even Egyptian pyramids later lose their tips. This is why, according to this Egyptologist, although pyramids were made all over the world, only the Egyptian pyramids are considered a miracle of the world. In other words, this sharp apex actually is the rarest and hardest part to explain, and the key.
This is why I said you start from the top. Almost like when you're building or when you're like, what's a real life example? I don't know. But basically, you like, I'm gonna attack this from the hardest point. Quite literally. I'm finna do it from the middle. Let's build up this really, really tall, what's it called, right? We finna, even if we gotta climb up here, like on some or we might build a ramp that goes like this, only for this top part. And then we just start building down and out. And then we climb up. Somehow we're hoisting it over the top and we putting it down. And we working our way all the way down. And then we sand in it to make sure that it reach the bottom. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, okay, let me draw it like this for y'all. Look, right here. So we built like a stick right here. Not a stick, but like something right here, right? And it's thick. And we might have little steps, whatever we can to climb. They smart, they know how to get up there. Let's just say they know how to get up here. And then you put a brick over here, a string over the top, because we can crawl up here. We can build something over this. And then another string. We have a counterweight here. Now we can build a ramp. It's gonna slide down and it's gonna hoist this one up. Put it right here. And now we put the counterweight back up over here. And we just keep going back and forth. So this side, when it goes down, it raises this brick, put it up here. And then this brick is down here now. Now you put one up here and then, wait, how you going? Man, I don't know what I'm talking about.
To the pyramid's construction.
I'm right though, somehow.
By the way, all of this background research and custom assets we created for this video, we decided to put it on a dedicated page. And
I feel y'all get your money.
also has a huge
I'm good though, I'm good.
dribble stone at Giza, like thousands of blocks, hand placed in 3D. And at first, I thought it was a little bit, feels a little conspiracy theory. But then I did read the research and I realized he wasn't trying to solve the pyramid. He was trying to solve the system that produces a pyramid. He says the Great Pyramid wasn't built on its own, but through a chain of sacrificial structures that are designed to be cannibalized. Let me explain. Before the Great Pyramid,
So it was built to, like, you build a whole ramp, and the ramp, now we gotta destroy the ramp so that you don't even know how, not so that you don't know, but like you build the ramp and then you break the ramp because you don't need the ramp. Like, ah, shit, we got to bite a bullet. Take a whole bunch of time building this big ass ramp or whatever, for example. Help build the pyramid, and then we gonna break the ramp and use some of the materials for that, and then get rid of the ramp because we don't need this exact ramp no more. And then we move on to the next one. That's probably why it took so long.
pyramids was a natural limestone outcrop with small hills. Most of the core blocks for Khufu's pyramid was carried directly from this plateau, with finer casing limestone brought from Tura and granite from Aswan. And they really used this landscape to their advantage. First, they identified the high points, shaved them, and terraced them, turning the hill into a working platform. Then you overbuild. Instead of starting with a pyramid shape, you create a rough, gigantic trapezoidal step mass with an integrated ramp system. And once the ramp reaches its full height, you start carving it down into the final.
I dead ass said start from the top. And the crazy thing is, I was going to say, because I know it was breaks. I promise you, I'm not lying. I'm not capping right here. There's no cap in my rap right now. Look, I was gonna say, what if it was all like they just built it down and shaved it down? But I was like, there's bricks. How would they do? I was like, there's bricks. I was talking about in the sand, in the dirt. What if they just built it down? But I'm like, that's true. You can do that. But I'm like, you probably couldn't do that because they use bricks. Like, it's not a dirt pyramid. It's a real material, like bricks. They hoisted bricks. So I'm like, oh. So now I'm like, I was thinking like maybe they just put it all. I said this in the beginning. Maybe they just built it up like as a triangle or whatever and just cut it down. I'm smart as shit.
Final pyramid shape. Remember the apex problem? Even the tiniest error at the base explode into huge deviations at the top. But if you work downward from a wide, stable platform, it's much easier to retain this precise shape. The shape is actually super important here. If we were to apply the system to a pyramid shape, the ramp would get steeper and higher as you go up, creating another death slide for the workers. But a trapezoid spreads outward at the top, and it gives you this workable 7-degree ramp all the way up. A flat, safe working deck around the apex, and full visibility of all 4 edges as you carve the final geometry. Instead of fighting the pyramid shape, you delay it until the very end. Once you carve down the step mass, the extra limestone is then reused for the other pyramids. The Great Pyramid is roughly 6 million tons. Choice Model estimates the initial step mass to be around 8 million tons. Carving that down gives you roughly 2 million tons of reusable stone. This gets split between the working mass for Khafre's pyramid and into the other annex buildings. Then this process is repeated for the other pyramids, each one going through the same recursive construction loop. Once you add all of the stone that moves through this loop, you get around 14 million tons circulating through the system, with roughly 1 million tons left over, which weirdly lines up with the mainstream volume estimates for the entire Giza complex. What's interesting about this theory is that it treats the entire plateau as a single construction engine and a closed-loop system, and it actually matches Egyptian behavior. Because the Egyptians were really into recycling. They turned broken boats into furniture, broken furniture became small objects, and later dynasties literally mined old pyramids for new buildings. So a cannibalizing system for the pyramids kind of feels like a very Egyptian thing to do.
My thing is when we have things like this in our lives in these times, I'm like, why don't we just I mean, why don't we just go out there and say, you know what, we're gonna fund y'all go and build it. No materials, y'all go and build it. And the project can never get finished in our lifetime, but eventually it will get finished. Y'all just gotta think like that. They say let's make a pyramid. They start getting bulldozers and track. I was about to say track hawks. They get bulldozers and cranes. Nah, they didn't have that. So go make it, and maybe you'll come to realize you have to put yourself in a position of these people. Obviously, obviously, you'll never be in their position, but having a bulldozer is too far gone. You too far. Like you don't need a bulldozer. You just sit out there and say, "How we gonna make this? How we gonna lift this?" Okay, so if we do this, we do. All right, so if we, you know what I'm saying, or and make it like a smaller scale. Actually, fuck that. Make go full. You gotta go full on.
And the idea of shaping the earth into ramps, that's not new either. Before the crane, which was invented by the Greeks in the 6th century BC, the landscape was the machinery. The dolmens, the Karnaks, and the early temples, they all shaped the earth into construction engines to build structures that feel impossible. And most importantly, this system explains one of the biggest flaws of the external ramp theory: the missing debris. The ramps weren't lost through time, they were repurposed. But this led me to another very unpleasant thought. See, most theories fail not because we find something wrong, it fails because we find nothing. The massive external ramp, no debris. The internal spiral ramp, no signs of a continuous spiral. The water shaft theory, no canals, no cuttings, no retaining walls. And this way of disproving based on negative evidence totally makes sense from a proper archaeological point of view. But what if that evidence didn't disappear through time, but by design? Maybe for them, a sacred form should not have any trace of a human builder. Maybe they always recycle the construction evidence. Maybe they always restore the site to purity, removed every mark and trace that could give away the construction method. It also means that the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. But sometimes an architectural detail can reveal the construction method, even if they try to hide it. This YouTuber, History for Granite, went through an insane journey to catalog around 6,000 surviving casing stones across 3 sides of Khafre's pyramid. And he found a pattern: tiny tapered stones forming vertical streams on each facade, which he calls bonding stones. A more common masonry term is keying stones, which are essentially smaller, special pieces of stone that can slide down to stitch 2 masonry runs together. And it actually reveals a lot. First, different sections were laid simultaneously by different crews for efficiency, and then stitched together. Second, since there's no bonding stones at the centers or the corners, these weren't ending lines, they were starting lines. The last and most importantly, all 3 faces show the exact same pattern. This is pretty important because if there
Okay, but how the fuck was they still moving that bitch around? Like, how are they moving that heavy ass 2 ton? They said 40 tons, 40 million tons, whatever the number was. It's more than 200 pounds. Y'all ever lug 200-pound kettlebell around? You like, ugh, damn. You're not just rolling that on wood, right? On 3 logs of wood. And how y'all get the logs up there if they didn't have cranes? Oh, y'all carried it. All 6 of y'all on this low ass ramp on the edge of the pier. Like, I feel what she's saying, but like, let's be thorough. Because I want to know.
Was a giant external ramp attached to the structure, you would probably see hotspots of bonding stones around the working edge. It doesn't prove any single theory, but it strongly suggests that the casing had to be carefully stitched together from multiple directions, and the crews likely had a wide, stable working deck around a clean, unobstructed pyramid core. Again, this is not proof of any one theory, but maybe it can disprove some theories. So, how do we know for sure? Like, how does a theory become proof?
Mr. Wizard, but it's a real power plant and will generate electricity. When I move the gas flame under the flask, the water inside will be heated to boiling.
In math or hard science, proof is pretty absolute. You run the experiment.
Damn, niggas in this time was racist. Can you just imagine? Every time I see certain things like this, I'm like, man, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah, they was racist too. You teaching science while being racist. I'm not putting that on his jacket. I'm just saying this time. Most likely, he probably was. I ain't gonna lie. And the Negro loved science.
Anyone can repeat it, and if the result holds, then it's true, until someone disproves it. But with archaeology, well, you can't really run the build the Great Pyramid as a lab experiment. So instead, a theory can get stronger if it first predicts what we should find, and then on ground, those predictions match the real traces, and different kinds of evidence all start making sense under that same explanation. And even then, other experts will try to break it. With the pyramids, it's even harder because we're missing the entire construction phase, and we can't dismantle Khufu, and multiple methods could produce the exact same final shape. So it's less, this is absolutely true, and it's more, for now, this is the least wrong answer. And after months and months of digging into this, for a brief second, I also wondered, could it have been the aliens? And I think there's a tiny part of me that kind of wanted to believe it, because it really hurts to think that we might never know the answer.
You know aliens built this.
But I know that that's just my cognitive closure talking, because our brains hate gaps in information. But maybe that's the whole point. In a world where we can Google almost anything, the pyramids are one of the last things we can't force into clarity. And maybe if we understood them perfectly, they would lose the thing that makes them kind of extraordinary.
The mystery.
So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think. Maybe it took so long, maybe they genuinely was like, let's put this here. They went up and it was like, bro, it's not lining up. They yelling to each other, yo, it ain't lining up here. Damn, take it down. At least 3 rows, we gotta take it down. It's not lining up. And then they go and check, oh, it's this one right here. This one's off a little bit. All right, come on, let's go back. And they took it all off. That's probably why them niggas was dying with their backs like this shriveled up. Because maybe they really did it the old fashioned way. They was really lugging stuff up there one by one, or putting it down one by one. They was up there. I mean, I don't know. I still go from they went top down and shaved it down, or built around it going downwards. I said that in the beginning. Promise y'all in pre-watch. I promise y'all. Without further ado, I appreciate y'all for watching. Go binge my videos. Go sub to my other channel. Sub to this video too. Sub to this channel too. I love you to death. Boy, I'm gonna see you on the next one. I'm gone.